If pork prices keep falling like this, starch factories might actually start using real pork as a filler. The price of live hogs has recently gone berserk, crashing below the 5 yuan mark, hitting a 7-year low. But when you excitedly rush to the supermarket's fresh meat counter, ready to feast on braised ribs or stewed trotters without breaking the bank, you'll likely be sorely disappointed, as the price tag is still over 20 yuan per jin, and might even be slightly more expensive than before. That doesn't add up right. The internet is flooded with news about falling meat prices and farmers suffering massive losses. Why are some cuts getting more expensive instead of cheaper? According to data released by the NDRC on April 7th, the pig-to-feed price ratio has dropped to 357. This means pig farmers are losing money on every hog they raise, roughly 462 yuan per head, especially for small-scale farmers who buy piglets for fattening. It's practically a money-burning nightmare. Currently, live hog prices in some regions have dropped into the 3 yuan era, with prices in Hainan even falling below the 4 yuan mark. People used to say that Mr. Pig was precious, but now they're worth even less than cabbage. Many farmers are now stuck in a bind. Selling means a loss, and not selling is even worse. Sell and you'll lose your shirt. Don't sell and you're bleeding money on feed every day, while worrying that the hogs won't sell even after they've grown. Why is this happening? Actually, you can blame how profitable things were in the past 2 years. With good prices back then, everyone rushed to expand production. Big corporations scrambled to build farms, and individual farmers weren't far behind. That's why the current breeding sow inventory is alarmingly high, with piglets being born non-stop. Yet the market simply can't absorb them all. But when pigs grow up, they inevitably have to be loaded onto trucks headed for the slaughterhouse. The journey isn't just a simple ride. Pigs can get motion sick, and they get scared too. During transport, factors like bumps, crowding and stress trigger stress reactions in the pigs, leading to weight loss in mild cases or death in severe ones. In the industry, this is called transport loss, with an average shrinkage rate of 3 to 5. Every bit of weight lost has to be factored into the final price of the pork. So who ends up footing the bill? Naturally, it's the subsequent stages in the supply chain. Once at the slaughterhouse, the pig goes through bleeding, deherring, evisceration, and splitting. After this entire process, plus labor, utilities, and equipment depreciation, the cost per pig increases by about 50 yuan. At this stage, the live pig becomes a carcass, which is then distributed to farmers' markets and supermarkets. But what really puzzles people is that once it reaches the butchering and retail stage, the value of parts from the same pig varies drastically. This brings us to the 80-20 rule in the pork industry. First of all, there really aren't many high-value parts on a single pig. Cuts like ribs, trotters, tenderloin, pork belly, liver and kidneys, these are the hard currency of the wet market. Scooped up early every morning by customers. If you arrive late, you'll miss out. But fatty trimmings, non-rib bones, and the minced meat scraps produced during butchering can account for about 15 of the total. While these can still be sold, the price is pitifully low. For instance, ribs and leg bones suitable for soup can sell for over 20 yuan, while the spine might only sell for a few yuan. Retailers have to run a business too: stall fees, utilities, transport costs. These are fixed costs that are set in stone. So to offset the losses from slow-moving fat and trimmings, retailers mark up the prices of popular items like ribs and lean meat. It's like a buffet. Cheap drinks are bottomless, but pricey steaks are limited. Secondly, ribs are the definition of an essential item. No matter how cheap pork gets, when people want to make stew or grill ribs, they'll still reach for ribs because everyone knows they taste the best. But a single pig only yields a limited number of ribs, and with high demand, supply is naturally tighter, keeping prices high. With upstream oversupply and weak downstream demand, middlemen are squeezed. They have to absorb high costs while managing sluggish sales, forcing them to raise prices on popular cuts to stay profitable. That explains the current situation. Shoulder cuts might be dirt cheap, making it seem like pork is really affordable. But if you want a nice meal, ribs will still cost you a pretty penny. Also, the rock bottom prices we're seeing only apply to regular white pork. Black pork is still holding steady at around 30 yuan per catty. For the same reason, because black pigs grow slowly, taking 10-12 months to raise, the costs are inherently higher, and they're positioned for the mid to high-end market, putting them in a completely different category than regular pork, so they aren't affected by this wave of price drops at all. In short, prices only drop for meat that isn't in high demand. Premium cuts that were already valuable may be slightly affected, but they remain pricey. People used to splurge on lavish meals during holidays, but now everyone is more rational. Healthy eating trends are also catching on, limiting the demand for red meat. Additionally, with low-priced South American beef, flooding the domestic market over the past 2 years. Demand for pork has indeed been quietly declining. So how much longer will this discrepancy between low live hog prices and high retail costs persist? At least in the short term, hog prices are expected to remain depressed as the breeding sow inventory remains high. The supply of hogs continues to be ample, while consumer demand is unlikely to pick up in the near term. Therefore, experts predict that until at least the mid-autumn and National Day holidays, hog prices will likely continue to hover at low levels. However, for pig farmers, this difficult period shouldn't last too long, because the market naturally self-corrects as small-scale producers gradually exit. Accelerated capacity reduction will gradually restore the supply-demand balance, and at that point, hog prices may recover. Of course, what matters more to us ordinary consumers is the optimization of the industry shiny. If the slaughtering, wholesale, and retail markups were made more transparent and unnecessary intermediate costs reduced, we might achieve a win-win, preventing losses for farmers while keeping prices affordable for consumers. After all, pork is a staple for Chinese households and an essential need. Nobody wants to see pig farmers crying and meat consumers complaining, trapped in this vicious cycle. Moreover, the government has recently begun purchasing frozen pork for state reserves, aimed at cushioning the market to prevent hog prices from plummeting. For ordinary consumers, now is indeed a great time to buy meat, especially cuts other than ribs, which offer great value. But for pig farmers, this is a test of endurance. Whoever has the financial resilience to survive this winter will live to see the next spring.